Sky News contributor Prue MacSween. Prue, let's start with a report on judges being selected not purely on merit, but on other factors like diversity. The Australian reports that cultural awareness and diversity will be key considerations in selecting Australian judges, while the traditional view of merit will be reassessed. This is following the first revamp of criteria for appointing judicial candidates in nearly a decade. Prue, the updated handbook was just released. Does it fill you with confidence about the justice system?
Well, it was always borderline confidence as it is, Rita, and this is just making it worse. You know, this is supposed to be progress and an improvement when we've got touchy-feely, sensitive, culturally aware, diversity, embracing lawyers and judges in particular, now deciding what's right and whether somebody should go to, be incarcerated or get a slap on the wrist, or, maybe they were a bedwetter or mummy left them as a child. I mean, it's just absurd. What we want are judges who are in tune with what the public believes is right in terms of, stop this, black armband stuff about victims. And let's talk, not victims, victims being the perpetrators. And what about the victims? We never talk about, what's happened to the victim. It's always, let's be kind and nice to the person who's been, the perpetrator, and it's not right.
Well, we already have that in the justice system. I don't know how much more of it we can cope with. There's
exactly.
This preoccupation with the rights of the offender, not what's in the best interest of the community and community safety. And we can see so many soft sentences, so many times where people are getting bail, where you wonder how they're getting bail. Now, let's move on to other matters. I thought the whole work from home COVID era was over, but we learned today that 70% of the public servants in Tony Burke's Department of Employment and Workplace Relations are working from home. I mean, is that good enough? That's a fairly key ministry to have most of the workforce in their pyjamas at home.
Well, looking at what he's churning out, I'm not surprised. We have a situation where it's do as I say, not what I do, because he's the man who's telling employers that they have to allow their staff to disconnect, that the staff virtually rule the roost now, and the employer is going to get fined and face all sorts of prosecutions if he doesn't allow, his workers or her workers to, be hands off. And it's just ridiculous, because when you're running a business, as I do, you need to be able to contact your employees. It may be actually to say, don't come to work tomorrow, you've worked so hard, stay home. It's so absurd that we have this situation. There's enough pressure on employers now without introducing all these ridiculous laws. And I just hope, I know that the opposition's talking about getting rid of them the minute they get in, but in the meantime, we have Burke, who's just falling over backwards to accommodate his union masters. None of these ministers have ever worked in private enterprise and would know the hardships that face, business. So it's hypocrisy gone crazy.
Well, let's have a look at what's happening with public servants in New South Wales and how much they're earning. A new report shows that there's 166 bureaucrats in New South Wales earning salaries higher than Premier Chris Minns. Again, Prue, is this money well spent? It could be that if you need to attract the best candidates, you've got to pay those sorts of salaries. Well,
I agree with you. If you've got the best people in the jobs, then you definitely, when you're competing with the commercial world, have to pay them an equitable amount. But in this case, let's look, for example, the Department of Transport. It is pathetic. Everything it touches seems to be stuffed up. In Sydney, for example, we have this shocking Roselle. it's just a nightmare. This that's all you can call it, a Roselle nightmare, where it's costing people and productivity millions of dollars because they've just planned it so badly, and it's happening in virtually every bureaucracy around New South Wales and I'm sure in other states. So if we can attract the right people, but the problem is it's a public service. They have a mentality where everything has to be groupthink. They have to have kumbaya sessions, and sadly we have a situation where we have inept people earning these big salaries and not serving the public.
And I would argue that you just simply do not have the pressures you have in the private sector and the accountability there. The job security in the public service seems to be quite good for those bureaucrats. Now let's go to Victoria, where City of Melbourne Lord Mayor Sally Capp's pet project, the Green Line, well, it may end up costing us $500 million, if it's ever built, that is. The project was estimated to cost $316 million, but sources close to the project have told the Herald Sun the final figure is a lot closer to $500 million. We keep seeing these big projects blow out, whether it's state governments, local government, federal government, and it's our money.
Well, this is the thing. It's public servants again who obviously haven't done realistic business modelling and costings. And it shows you again how inept they are. And they don't care because it's not their money. In particular, Sally Capps has this totally progressive woke agenda. She's been overstepping the mark for Melbourne City Council. I mean, for goodness sake, I don't know. She's obviously using it as a job, profile raising so she can get into, federal or state politics more so. But, this is the woman who, wanted to ban whips in horse racing and, Australia Day. She's had her fingers in everything. This Green Line thing sounds like a great idea, but haven't we got other priorities, I would have thought, for Victoria, which is billions of dollars in debt? It's like a household. When you have huge debt, you have to pull the reins in, and all these lovely fantasy projects, things that you'd like to do, have to be put on the shelf. But sadly for her, she's out. She wants to raise her profile, and this is like one big job interview for her.